Welcome back to the podcast. Beloved, this is indeed your brother Big VJ checking in. Today's conversation, we're going to talk religion. Yes, beloved, we're going to take our time. We're going to talk religion. We're going to do our best not to offend anybody because we know religion is a very sensitive topic. Because we will be discussing God and the Hasatan, right? The adversary, right? So, beloved, we're going to have a conversation on that, right? We're going to jump around a little bit. I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 episodes ago, we were talking about how food is being monopolized. We was encouraging our people to have a solid relationship with the sun, seeds, and soil plus water, right? Because this is a recipe of growing your own food. In this conversation, we talked about the mind of religious Negroes. And depending on the belief system, we feel like religious Negroes is they can almost be a stumbling block. Because once you start to kind of like over teach this divine intervention kind of deal, and you don't, you kind of get away from teaching the laws of the planet Earth, and you kind of get into this divine intervention kind of deal. I don't know. We feel as though like, I don't know, there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of vehicles that we can take to reach joy, peace, power, and abundance. We just feel like, beloved, that marriage is the vehicle that we can take and easily get to joy, peace, power, and abundance. We tried religion already. That's why we joke on religion so much over here. Like, we tried it already. We started off as Christians. We came out of the fields. We was Christians. Then we picked up a Quran. We tried Islam. We banged our head on the ground 5 times a day. We all looking to the east. We looking to the east for help. And then when praying 5 times a day didn't work, we went back to the Bible, but we put on a new suit, and the new suit is called being a Hebrew Israelite. Right? So we're jumping around using time, talent, energy, and money into these religious organizations, and our families is getting poorer and poorer and poorer. And we haven't figured out that maybe it's the marriage unit, the institution of marriage, that's going to take us collectively to joy, peace, power, and abundance. And it's not religion. It's not Rabbi Lamb Chop. It ain't Pastor Pork Chop. I mean, they say some good things. And I feel like it's important that I say this. Beloved, the 3 major religions, right? Because we're not going to act like we're blind over here. The 3 major religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, right? We seen people go into these houses and make marvelous changes. Dealing with porn addictions, alcohol addictions, some people just having a battle with always stealing and lying and just gossiping and backbiting and drug dealing and prostitution. So many things we've seen people deal with, and they went into these doors. The door of Islam, the door of Christianity, and the door of Judaism, and they was changed. And we can acknowledge that change is real, right? We can acknowledge that, as they say, as old folks say during wartime, it ain't no atheists in foxholes. If you ain't got no God, you're going to get one in. When you're in the middle of a war, if you ain't got no God, you're going to get one. When you're in that 30,000 foot plane and that turbulence is shaking, if you ain't got no God, you're going to get one in, right? So It's not as if that this is a platform that we attack beliefs, because we feel as though, there's some beliefs that's going to get you to a certain, but we just put the family first. And then there's other beliefs that are detrimental to the village. It comes with religion, right? So it's the family, and then it's religion. And we're putting in my estimate now, we're putting our time, talent, energy, and money into religious organizations because we have been duped to believe that this is our way out, because we're looking in the sky for heaven. Our Rolex is in the sky. Our big boy mansion is in the sky, right? The streets paved with gold is in the sky somewhere. And when you teach divine intervention in heaven on this kind of level, then what that can kind of do to a people group is they won't do their best anymore. They're going to hobo their way to heaven, which this kind of mentality is going to affect all of us. See, some of these dogmas and these beliefs, it affect all. It just don't. See, if it just affects you, nobody really care. Why would we bang on a Christian? They got a belief, or a Mormon, or a Jehovah's Witness. They just got to believe like, well, it ain't going to affect nobody. But when you start teaching and properly, you're misguiding people about the function of forgiveness. Where in the real world, if I do something to you as a human being, I have to come to you and apologize. Hey, beloved, I did A, B, and C, man. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did it. I did it. But how can we make it right? My apology is to you. But if we have religious houses in the village, it's teaching us that if you rob somebody, stab somebody, you was a dope boy, all this, so you sold all kind of poison in the village, but you just change your mind and you got a good heart and you pray to the east somewhere. You pray into the east, you ask for forgiveness, you wake up, you good with a good conscience, right? But look at the people you damaged. So what happens to them? You never go. See, this ain't gonna do us no good. That don't work in a family unit. A sister can't do that to a brother. A brother can't do that to a cousin. You can't just offend somebody and just say, well, hey, I prayed to somebody over here. We good. No, it don't work like that. But it works like this in religion, and properly taught in religion, right? So I'm just saying, look, time, talent, energy, and money. Let's put it in the family. We done gave poor child 10% for all of. Man, he got 10% of everybody in the household paper. Can we put this 10% in our own trust? In the Jones family trust? In the Norwood family trust? In the Jackson family trust? And see what we could do when we keep our money to ourselves? Can we just do that? During this conversation, right, we had a couple episodes ago, we talked about the Hebrew Israelite brothers, right? We just talking about beliefs that get spreaded, that it is going to affect everybody, because we know the power of language, power of the voice. You're putting letters together. This is spelling, because this is energy, this is force, these are spells that you're saying. If we have somebody on every street corner in the inner city teaching that the black man and woman, the Hispanic man and woman, and the Native American man and woman are all cursed because we didn't follow the law, statute, or commandments of this desert deity somewhere in the east 4,000 years ago, that it was being brokered by Moses. Moses was brokering a deal, and during this deal he's making with this deity, there was blessings and cursings, and somehow our bloodline we didn't do our side of our part of the bargain. So therefore, people today are living underneath a curse. That's interesting, beloved. That's interesting. Our brother Rand 68 reached out to us. He's like, you know what, V? I feel as though I do a good job. This is our brother Rand 68 talking, saying he'd do a good job breaking down God and Satan relationship, and we're saying, beloved, we're open to that. Not just you, the door's open for any and everybody. If you produce some information, you make a video, make it. Send us the link. We can take it down off the link. We'll put it on the platform because, beloved, this is all of our platform. This is the village. We're talking. You know what I'm saying? That's why the comments is so important here. We're okay with having a conversation about God in the Hasatan. If you're going to break it down, I mean, we're going to talk about it a little bit today. But if you want to break it down in your own way, or anybody that's listening want to break it down in their own way, it's fine. We can disagree and we can be disagreeable. We can be righteous. We're not going to harm each other. I don't care about putting information up on the platform that disagree with me. It's okay not to be the expert. Hey, it's okay. Beloved, it's perfectly fine. So we're just going to shoot the bobo, right? We're going to shoot the bobo. The email address to this platform is in the description bar. It's in the description bar. You can email us what you want. Anything, like we got our brother B. Harris. Everything our brother B. Harris email up, we get everything. You know what I'm saying? It's a brother that he got a channel called Go Back to Africa, Go Black to Africa. I can't remember. I think he's a Hebrew too. Hey, he hit us up on the email. We rock with the email. We have no problem with that. You can send us a link there. You can send us anything you want there. We have absolutely no problem putting the information up. It's because ultimately we just having great conversation. That's all we really doing. It's cool to have dialogue. It's just what it is. It's no problem. But again, this platform, our religion is marriage. The institution of marriage, the man and the woman, building a family. We feel as though that vehicle of marriage is our fastest way to joy, peace, power, and abundance. That's just our position. You know what I mean? It don't mean your brother right. But you know, if you picking something we tried already, man, we tried that already. We're still trying it now. So let's talk religion. That's enough of that. Let's talk religion. And they got three major Abrahamic religions, right? This is Islam, this is Christianity, and this is Judaism, right? We feel as though that they are all not created equal. We feel like the Jew is on the top of the totem pole. He's at the top of the mountain when it comes to religion. We feel like the Christians are second. And we feel like Islam is last. Right? The Jew is at the top of the totem pole because, see, that religion can stand alone. Because all of the prophets, they come from the Jews. All of them. And so much so, and I said this before on another occasion, Jews just feel like Christians just took their book and glued it on the back of their book. You know what I mean? But Jews don't believe in what Christians believe. They can care less what a Christian believe. But the Christians got to respect the Jews because the Christians use all the Jewish prophets. You know what I mean? Islam got to respect the Christian and the Jew. But the Christians don't have to respect the Muslims. They don't. They don't have to. For what? The Quran is not necessarily introducing any new prophets, with the exception of like Prophet Muhammad. But other than that, like, no. So it's a pecking order. Like the Jew, he stand alone. So sometimes, you know, on this platform, like, we'll throw some shots at Pork Chop, but Pork Chop ain't really Pork Chop ain't really, all Pork Chop really doing, he just repeating what the white minister says. He don't stand alone. Because we're going to talk about some things today that we know Pork Chop is not going to talk about because he's just waiting for the white minister to say it first. He just, until then, he just says what they say, but he really don't do it. He ain't really doing it. He ain't making no real noise. The Jew make all the noise. Right? So we see that when you come out of the religious world about who got the power in the natural world. The Jew got it. You can make Islamic jokes. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing. They act a little, you know, might get upset a little bit for a day or two. It pass. You can joke on the Christians, ain't really nothing gonna happen. You know, put them in movies, Joan on them, ain't nothing really gonna happen. But you joke on that Jew. You joke on him, it's some things gonna happen. You know, shoe deals finna get lost, you know, contracts finna get tore up. It's clear who got the power on the earth. It's very clear who got the power in the earth, right? So we're gonna talk about God and the Hasatan, and we're gonna use the Jewish biblical text to do it. And we're gonna jump around a little bit, right? In my estimate, one of the most powerful verses in the Old Testament is Deuteronomy 32:8. And this is a verse I don't think I have ever heard Reverend Porkchop use in my life, right? Again, it's Deuteronomy 32:8. And in this verse, it talks about how the Most High God gave nations their inheritance, and he divided mankind, and he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the sons of God, right? Now, depending on what version of the Bible you have, some say everything was fixed based on the borders of the sons of Israel. But we don't go with that translation, right? Because we just talking the concept today. We don't go with that translation because we understand that when that statement was made, Israel wasn't even alive yet. They wasn't even born yet. They never came into being yet. So we go with the original and the more older text. To our knowledge, in the older text is the Most High gave the nations their inheritance. He divided mankind. He fixed the borders of the people according to the sons of God. Now, what that is essentially saying is that every single nation, and it was 70, right? Because that lines up with the Noah story, Ham, Shem, and Japheth coming out of the ark. Ham, Shem, and Japheth having children, and these children equal to like 70. And each of the 70 children had a deity, a angel, really a Malak. I want to say messenger more. Angel is kind of like, because in Hebrew, the word angel and messenger is the same word. It's just Malak. You know, they can be used. So I don't know why the writers picked the angel and they kind of left the messenger off. That's interesting, right? Maybe a different story for a different day. But it was the sons of God that was put over these nations, which means that every nation had their own God. Now, that verse being interpreted that way changes your whole view of the whole Bible now. Because when we was growing up in the church house, they never taught that. Porkchop never taught that every single nation had their own God. Never. We were just taught there were one God, and you know, everything is a oneness thing. And no, that's not. This verse totally changes everything. So that would mean that when it comes down to the God of Israel, that means that Yahweh was the God of Israel. That was his people, his portion. He didn't have no control over the other nations. Because, you know, many of our people way in America, they believe in the God of Israel. He's way in the east. But if every nation, now you got to know your nationality, but every nation had their own God, that changes the game. Which, in theory, and oftentimes we're looking at it all like it's mythology. That makes more sense though. Because when you're going into these different lands, if you're coming out of an ark, right? If you're coming out of an ark, the whole world washed away. You got to replenish the population. You going into lands and you don't know how to work the land, how to till the ground. You don't know nothing. What fish you can eat, what you can't. You looking at, bushes and leaves and things that's growing out of the ground. You don't know if it's you can eat this or you can't. You don't know what water you can drink or you can't. You don't know. You need a deity or some kind of being to show you, oh, you do this like this, you do this like that. And if this God is over Israel and you're living in South Africa somewhere, well, how you gonna know? You need your own Malak. You need your own messenger over you to show you how to do that. You ain't, you know what I mean? You gotta have your own. If you in China, you gotta have your own. See, we was never taught that. Now, that also means that for every Malak or messenger that was over a people group, that Malak or messenger eventually was looked at as God by the people. And then you could kind of see, if you kind of really look at the first covenant or the Old Testament, you can almost call, it's beautiful poetry, beloved. You can almost call, in my estimate, the Old Testament like the book of wars or the book of battles, because you see, Yahweh the deity, and we respect Yahweh the deity here, because he's like a war God. He's a warrior God. He's no nonsense. He's creating a people out of a people, and he's given them laws, statutes, and commandments to separate them from the rest of the nations. He gives them a dietary law, and then ultimately we like Yahweh here because see, Yahweh is about the family. Yahweh is big on family. When you start making laws like, okay, if you disrespect one of your mother, your father, death. If you commit adultery, which is the interrupting of a family unit, death. If you go off somewhere and you get real freakish and you want to lay up with some ox or some cattle or some horses, death, because that's foolish. Like he about protecting that family. He gonna keep that Yahweh gonna keep that unit together. But it come with a price. It comes with the price. He's a war guy. It's always sacrifice this, but it's a lot of blood sacrificing going on. It's a lot of, you better prove yourself. He had one of those prophets underneath his I think it was Abraham. They had to, hey, okay, go up. You love me. You gonna rock with me? Cool. Go get your son, tie him up, and if you really feeling me, you rocking with me like that, go kill him. And Abraham, to prove his loyalty to this war deity, he's tying his baby boy up, because they not really looking at Ishmael like that. So he's tying up his baby boy. He finna put dude to sleep. And then it was stopped. And then, so this is what the young people call a big stepper, right? He's the God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Because this is his allotted portion. This is his inheritance. Jacob is Yahweh's inheritance. Jacob, not Muhammad. Jacob is Yahweh's inheritance, right? All right, this is beautiful poetry now. Now watch this, though. Watch this. We're going to have a conversation about God and the Hasatan. And the most interesting dynamic that you will see, or I won't say you, that I've seen in the biblical text is in the book of Job. It's in the book of Pochop say Job. We'll say Job because this is how they do it to sound fancy. Because as long as I've been living, I don't know. J-O-B have always been Job, but like I always said, Reverend Pochop, he just kind of repeat what the white ministers say. So if the white ministers say Job long enough, then Pochop want us kind of like sound important, and Pochop is over us. So Pochop say Job, so we say Job. There's a story in the book of Job or Job, and I want to say the first chapter and the second chapter, it shows Yahweh is sitting in the seat of power. He has his own staff. right? And while his staff in the heavenly court is presenting themselves to him, you see the Hasatan appears, right? Okay, because we're going to talk, and I want you to think, because I may say some things that, your leader teaching God never really said it this way, and I'm nobody's leader teaching God. We're just talking. You know what I mean? The heavenly court, Yahweh sitting on the throne, and he has angels that are presenting, or malaks, or messengers that are presenting themselves to him. And the Hasatan, he shows up, right? Now, this Hasatan, or this Satan character, he's identified as the adversary or the accuser, which means like an accuser, like he's a troublemaker, he's a tormentor, he's a harasser, right? Now, the first thing that we notice, because this is the first chapter, there's two occasions that the Hasatan visits Yahweh. On the first occasion, we notice that a question is asked. Yahweh says to him, Satan, where you been? What you got cracking? And he says, well, I just been going to and fro on the earth, up and down it, to and fro on the earth. And then it's like a proposition. Well, have you considered my servant Job? This is Yahweh talking. Now, I just want to stop. I want to stop. This is a chummy conversation. There's nothing confrontational about this conversation. See, this is not, we're not being taught this in the church house. Because we hear Reverend Pochop, when he started talking about the Hasatan, it's, I bind you up in the name of the Lord. I cast you down to the pits of the, it's a bunch of, because he got a band, Pochop got a band. So they playing all in the back, and he's doing he's doing some warfare kind of like deal. But when we read it in the Jewish biblical text, it ain't no warfare. It's not even confrontational. The Hasatan comes up to it's the sons of God. They're presenting themselves, and it's not as if like they finna jump on dog. He's dolo. It's not like it's on site or something like no. It's a dialogue. It's a dialogue. The Hasatan is talking to the Yahweh. He's talking to the Yahweh, and as the Yahweh is having a conversation with him, he would say, hey, you checked out my son. Now, Job is not technically, to my studies now, Job is not technically an Israelite. He's just a devout follower from another nation that believes in Yahweh. And Yahweh is kind of like, they talking about dude. And he gives, this is the first time the Hasatan comes to him, right? When the Hasatan comes to the Yahweh, or I'm gonna just say Yahweh because this is like the personal name, right? I may explain one day down the line that why it's the Yahweh, but that's later. We're just gonna say how the book is Yahweh. We're just gonna leave it like the Yahweh. This is the Israelite God, right? He's over the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They did a deal in the desert with Moses. He's their God. He's their power. He's their, right, okay. So, Job is offered up, right? You could do this and do that, but don't do it. Okay, so if you look at the steps, when the Satan goes after Job, this is the first time, right? You see that the ox, the donkeys, and the servants were attacked first by the Sabians. You know what I mean? And you sit back, you say that's property and people lost, right? Now, people died and animals died because of a conversation that happened in the heavenly courts with Yahweh and Satan. They're proving, it's like he's trying to prove Job's loyalty to him by putting misfortune on Job. Now, we're not really taught like that in the church world, and it's not really taught like that in the Islamic world. This is the Jews text. That doesn't sound kind of like, because that's not, we don't hear the relationship like that. This is they're talking, it's chummy. It's not confrontational. And we were taught that the Christian God and the Muslim God knows everything. He's all knowing. He knows it from the beginning to the end. Yet, when you see how the Jews give you this beautiful story about Yahweh, the Hasatan, and Job, it doesn't necessarily look like Yahweh's all-knowing. Because what good is the trial if you know the answers to the if you already know what's going to happen? Like, what good is putting Job all through this? He's just going to be... But it's interesting how the Yahweh felt the need to prove something to the Hasatan. That's very interesting. And death is coming behind the conversation. So you see the first time around, the ox, the donkeys, and the servants, they die. So that's a property and people loss. And then the second time you see the sheep and the servants were destroyed. This is the second time, right? And because the Hasatan brought fire from heaven, right? So you see again, property and people are lost. Then the third incident was the camels were stolen, and then the servants is killed again by the Chaldeans, right? This is again another property and people lost. And then the fourth incident, Job and his children was like, they drinking in the house. And then some wind blew, because Yahweh is just demonstrating that he's giving the power over to the Hasatan. Now the Hasatan got power over the wind. You can see that he allowed fire to come down. And then he can also use other people, because he used the Sabians and then he used the Chaldeans. So he can use other people to be his enemies. And then again, the fourth incident, he's using the wind to cause a house to collapse and kill them, Job's children. So, okay, we see this is the fourth incident, which is the death of a family. Now, let's stop. All four of these incidents sprang up because Yahweh and the Hasatan had a conversation, almost like a bet, about how faithful Job would be. I find that fascinating, because we don't hear that on Sundays. It's almost like, it's like, when would this Satan character die? This is like one of the sermons, and this is one of the things I often say. I'm like, okay, when is Satan going to be killed by the God of Israel, or the God of Arabia, which is Allah, or the God of the Christians, which is the son of Mary? We have heard 1,000 sermons, all of us that grew up in the religious world, but the only sermon we have yet to hear is when we will see the death and destruction of the Hasatan, the Satan. It's like it's never going to happen, because to some degree it almost just looks like religion doesn't work without this character. None of the three major religions work if you take the Hasatan off the cake. It's like almost like a three-legged table. You know what I'm saying? It's like a three-legged table, and the Hasatan is one of the legs. You pull that leg off, it doesn't work no more. That table don't stand no more. So he has to be there for the table to work. It just looks like that to us. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is that the humans can be destroyed easily now. The humans is always being destroyed when you look at the Jewish biblical text. Disobedience, you gotta go. You didn't keep the Sabbath, you gotta go. It's like, it's a zero tolerance policy that the Yahweh, I'm gonna make it personal, right? This is the God of the Israelites. He have like a zero tolerance policy on the human beings. You can die for not keeping the Sabbath, brothers and sisters. That's cold, man. That's a cold game. We respect him. We like, okay, he's a stepper now. That was he's a big stepper. You can read stories about how the ark was falling and somebody went to catch the ark and boom, they died. And then you could read Noah's ark, hundreds of thousands of people, they're destroyed. Then you can read other parts where you see Sodom and Gomorrah, they're so wicked, 2 cities, boom, they're destroyed. But the Satan now, which is not arguably, because I was trying to just be political, but He's the most wickedest being in all three major religions, but he don't go nowhere. Like his life is protected almost. The human's life is not protected, but the Hasatan's life is like protected. We find that very fascinating, beloved. We also find it odd. We also find it odd. When you first read the Job story, right? Job, right? When you first read the story, you think that the Hasatan just presented himself and he leaves, but it's not like he went twice. Those 4 incidents that we just talked about, that's what happened after the Hasatan went to that formation, because it sounds almost like a military formation. The sons of God are presenting themselves to Yahweh, and the Hasatan, he rolls in. He just rolls up, dolo, rolls up, not confrontational. And then Yahweh brings up Job. Now, the second time the Hasatan rolls up, when the sons of God are presenting themselves, it's a heavenly court, presenting themselves to Yahweh. The second time, Yahweh offers up Job again. Hey, have you considered Job? And then it's interesting because I think right around that third verse, third or fourth, that third verse. Let me say the third verse, because time passes. Satan meets with God again. God offers him Job, and then it's a part that in the third verse Yahweh says, he talking to the Hasatan. He says, Job, he's giving Job his credentials. He's like, he hold fast his integrity. But he says at the end, he says, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. I'm like, well, wait a minute, because they're not teaching that at the church house. They're not teaching that in Islam. We going back to the Jew, because the Jew is the foundation. We didn't know that the Hasatan could do anything or say anything to move, incite, or motivate God or Yahweh at all. We didn't know that. But we also find it an interesting choice of words, because the Hasatan never brought Job up into the conversation. The Yahweh did. Yahweh brought Job up, not the Hasatan. The Hasatan just showed up. Hey man, what you been got going on? Hey, I'm just going to and fro the earth. Hey, have you considered blase blase? Wow. Then later, the second time around, he say, hey man, this is the Yahweh speaking. He says, well, you movest me against him. How? How does Satan move God or Yahweh to go against his own servants? How does that happen, beloved? How does that happen? See, I remember back when I was coming up, we used to say it was a term. We say hallelujah. We young, we kids, we don't really know what that means. That means praise ye Yah, praise ye Yahweh. And depending on what kind of pork chop that you got, they would teach you that it's only one God in the book, and Yahweh is at the beginning, and he's through the whole book in New and Old Testament, that Yahweh is the chief God. He's on the throne. Ain't nobody over him, right? Nobody, matter of fact, they should say like nobody's over him, nobody's under him. We just didn't know. If you read long enough, you will know the identity of Yahweh. It'll come to you. But we didn't know, right? Let's just go back to the story. It's a beautiful story. It's poetry. You will have to ask yourself, how come Satan has access to the planet Earth to begin with? Because we're not taught that. See, we're taught that Satan, the Hasatan was a being that he looked like he was so beautiful, he was so powerful, he this and that, I mean, he said he was beautiful. He had a lot. It looked like all the angels was males, but he just felt like he was more beautiful than the rest of the male angels or the Malaks or the messengers, and he got puffed up in his heart and he wanted to be God. I want you to think about this good when I'm talking. He wanted to be God, right? Technically, the Hasatan, the devil, is a son of God. He's a Malak. He's a messenger. And he wanted to be God, and he wanted to be praised and worshiped like God. So God kicked him out of heaven, and we were taught he got sent to hell. We were taught that hell was the place that Satan lived, and Satan lived in hell. That's what Pochop say. I bind you up, I cash it. But we read here, he ain't in no hell, brother. He ain't in no hell, sisters. He just going up and down the earth. So you have to ask yourself, well, why does he have access to planet Earth? Why? Why does he have access? How come his access wasn't cut off like your access was cut off to the tree of life? Because if we go back to the story in the garden, right, we see Yahweh again. And Yahweh, he made a man. He made Adam. He made the Adamites. He made Adam, and Adam was kicked out of the garden. If you ask somebody why was they kicked out of the garden, the average religious person would say because they ate the fruit. But the book don't say that. No. They ate that fruit. They still was in the Garden of Eden. Then Yahweh said, behold, saying, look, right? Because we are taught these guys just by themselves, ain't nobody around. They just, I don't know. They say, let us make man. They talking to themselves. They go to the Tower of Babel. They say, let us go down. He talking to himself. So I guess when the Yahweh said, behold, which means look, he's talking to somebody. He says, look, the man is like one of us, lest he take his hand out and he get to the tree of life. He can live forever. This is why Adam and Eve was put out of the garden. They didn't even have access because Yahweh didn't allow them to have eternal life. The human being couldn't have eternal life. So you got put out of the garden, or Adam, I ain't gonna say you, I'm gonna say Adam and Eve got put out the garden. And then not only did they get put out of the garden, there was a seraphim or a cherubim, I forget which one, that stood out. This is the first time you hear about a flaming sword to make sure that Adam couldn't come back in. So this is your introduction to a weapon. Do you think, beloved, they just made that weapon up right then on the spot for Adam? Or they already had weapons? Or they already was at war? I mean, I'm just asking. Do you think? But this is why he was put out. This is my point. He didn't have access to the tree of life. Yet, we see that Hasatan has access to the earth because it's written. We read in the Jewish biblical text, he said, Satan, where you coming from? He didn't say, I just got back from Mars. Man, I was hanging out in Saturn and this is what's going on. I spent the block, I went to Jupiter. No, I went to Earth where the humans are. So one would have to ask themselves, man, if you had such precious being that you made yourself, that you love, how would you would give them access to the Hasatan on a regular basis? That's just like, you got some sheep in your backyard, and your backyard has an enclosure. It's fenced in because the earth has an enclosure. The humans can't leave. You are living in an enclosure, and your backyard is now the enclosure. You got a bunch of sheep back there, but you just let you got a wolf. You let a wolf just roam back there. You don't keep the wolf outside of the enclosure to protect the sheep. You let the wolf come in and he can periodically come in and come eat. He's not even banned. So you're subjecting the sheep to death, so the sheep can't even get to the tree of life to live forever. They're subject to death. I find that very poetic, and I find it fascinating. But how come I don't hear this on the corner? When the Hebrew Israelites and something, they believe in the God of Israel and this and that. I don't hear this kind of talk. I don't hear them saying or waiting for the day for the Satan to be destroyed, because in their book, the Hasatan and Yahweh, they're not confrontational. They like, if you just read this, and it's poetry, it's like they're working together against the humans. They're not confrontational. I think it's good for you to ask yourself, why aren't they more confrontational than this? Job lived to be 140 years, right? Because he got, at the end of the story, he get double portion, everything he lost. He believed he beat the test, he get it back. And it almost sounds pimpish. Man, I hate to, it's just that Detroit in me, beloved. It almost sounds so pimpish when you hear Yahweh and Satan go back, because it's like, if I took you to the avenue, you could see the pimps brag about, they bottom B and how loyal they bottom B is to them. And man, no matter what you put on, I could just hear it, I could hear it in the back of my mind. One pimp telling another pimp, man, I don't care what you put on my bottom B. She ain't gonna never leave me. She ain't gonna. And the other pimp, he get access. He just slap, do all kind of just foul stuff to her, and she's still just loyal to her pimp. It almost sounds like two old pimps, two old friends. I don't want to be disrespectful, right? I don't want to be disrespectful. It just sounds like two acquaintances that's familiar with each other. We're talking about Yahweh and the Hasatan. They're familiar with each other. They know each other. And they just sitting back and just, hey man, you tried this person. This is one of my greatest servants, man. Go ahead, try him. Yeah, you got this. Don't hurt. Don't take the life. But property and the people around them, kill them. And they just going back and forth and back and forth. And see, I told you that job wasn't a part of me. Because Pope Chop say Job. I told you Job wasn't gonna leave my side. I told you Job wasn't gonna leave my side. Now I'm just gonna sprinkle some new children on them. I'm gonna sprinkle some new money on them, and then I'm gonna let them live to be 140 years. Because I told you before that Yahweh said his spirit ain't gonna scribe with man over 120 years no more. But we see he bent the rule a little bit so Job can get 20 more years. But we just find the dialogue interesting. What is your take, beloved? What is your take? If I was one of these devout believers, my number one question would be, when is Satan going to be destroyed? When? Even if he's not destroyed. You know what I'm saying? And Satan, they give you the religion. He got this appointed time. Let me tell you something that's so cold. I'm going to tell you so cold. You can go over verse after verse you can show where all these humans was killed. You can go over a bunch of verses where humans was killed. Humans were sacrificed. Animals were sacrificed. There's blood all over the place. It's like every time you look up, somebody got to do a new sacrifice. It got to be some blood somewhere. This is interesting, right? There's countless stories on that. But when you ask that believer, hey, when is Satan gonna go? They'll make up excuses why God got to keep him around. But he didn't keep you around. You got to go. You the human, you got to die. You got to go. Not him. He's just hanging around. The most wickedest being in the whole book. Oh, he got to wait till an appointed time, brother. But the humans ain't got no appointed time. This is interesting how the Jew monopolize God in your mind and telling you how God works. Because what, you gonna correct him? It's his God. It ain't this is the God of Israel. Where you from again? This is the God of Israel we talking about. What, you gonna correct him? No, you ain't gonna correct him. You just gonna believe. Because this is what you do best. They can bring you a story about how God is chummy with Satan, and you just believe. And you dare not say anything about it, because the thing that they taught you first to keep you in check, they gave you the hell story first. So we say this is the children of God. That's how we say on this podcast, like, man, they just children just believe. They believe they parent, they go along. It's whatever they parents say, just go along until they able to get to a point where they stand on their own. They say, nah, you tap into your true divinity. You say, no, that's not right. I don't care who did it. No, that's not right. That's not proper. No, that's not official. No, ain't nothing righteous about that. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there, beloved. We just talking religion. We talking Jews. We ain't talking you. We ain't trying to offend you. You know what I mean? We ain't offending you, beloved. You ain't writing no book. You ain't writing no book. And we understand why you do believe what you believe. I think it's a book came out in the 1800s, I believe. It was written by a white reverend. And the name of the book, maybe the 1700s, I'm not sure. But the name of the book in any event is called How to Make a Negro Christian. Dig that. Not how to make a Negro a Muslim, or how to make a Negro a Buddhist, or believe in Hindu. No, how to make a Negro a Christian. So you were made Christian on purpose. You ain't picked. You were made this way on purpose, brother. You was made this way on purpose, sis. But you grew out of those shoes and you went to Islam and you was banging on your head 5 times a day. I hear my Muslim brothers, and I hear my Muslim brothers, though, that they had this saying. They say, I bear witness that there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. And I just think to myself, I don't think our brothers really know, or sisters really know, what the term bear witness means. When you bear witness on something, you see it yourself. Right? You bear witness of a burglary. You bear witness of a homicide. You don't read it in a book and say, oh, I bear witness that. No. A person that bear witness, they see it themselves. So how could we, or any other Negro, bear witness that Allah is God and Muhammad is his messenger, and Muhammad, he was what? This is 1400 years ago. You didn't see no Muhammad, brother. How you bear witness? You didn't see no Muhammad. You didn't see no Muhammad. You seen a sky daddy, because we all seeing these sky daddies now. Everybody got a sky daddy that they see, and they can see everything in their spirit, in their soul, in their mind, except for putting a garden in their backyard. They don't see that, because that got to be real. That got to be a real sun, soil, seed, and water relationship. Don't see that. Even though one of those, I think it was Fox News, even though Fox News can come out with an article saying, I'm going to find that article, right? That it was an article posted that said Americans should have food for 3 months in their home because this may happen, that may happen. And they was almost predicted some catastrophes. I said, man, I'm going to have to talk about that. But our people don't want to hear that, because somebody going to feed them some food out of the sky. If something going to happen miraculously for them. And it's supposed to happen until it don't happen. And we should know best. Our people just got off the plantation. Ain't nothing special and spooky happen to get you off no plantation. In fact, the Hebrew Israelites, I don't know so much about the curse thing no more, brother. Well, I never knew about it. You knew about it. But I'm saying that to say, when Yahweh is all chummy with the Hasatan, I just think it's interesting. And I am curious to know what is your take on the matter. And we talked enough. I can just leave it there. Beloved, I can leave. I'm going to bind you up and send you down to the pit of hell. No, ain't nobody in no hell, brother. That man said he went present. He said he walking on the earth. Ain't nobody in no hell. It look like nobody is going to hell with the humans. Nobody going to hell but the humans, look like it. Boy, it's some double teaming going on. Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Man, you know, to read a book about a man that did a bloodline covenant with a being that's not even from this planet. That's interesting, beloved. And then, you know, check it out. When you kind of read, when Moses is talking about, you know, Moses started talking about when he met Yahweh come on the mountain, and Mount Sinai. He said smoke and fire and all this. And man, you know, if you really kind of listen how Moses described, you close your eyes and you start reading, you know what I mean? Because you got to just be a thinker. When you close your eyes and you start reading, it almost sounds like, man, is that a spaceship? Because it's so much fire and smoke and all this, and it's landing, it's coming on top of the mountain, and, you know, I'm just like, that almost sounds like a spaceship, brother. To me, it just sounds like some kind of spacecraft and it's landing. Because look, check it out. I always used to ask religious people this, because I'm a question person. I question everything. I used to always say, if you open your book and it says God created the heaven and the earth, right? That's powerful. That's enough in itself. God created the heaven and the earth. But then we also are taught God have no beginning. So in the beginning, when God created the heaven and the earth, where did he live at before he created the heaven and the earth? Because heaven and earth is a more recent estate. Because what we talking about Yahweh. He said earth is his, heaven is his throne and earth is his footstool, right? But there's a time where heaven and earth did not exist. So where did Yahweh live then? Where is he coming from to come and create the heaven and the earth? Because technically, if I just really wanted to talk religion, if I really just want to sit up and just pot religion all day, I can almost show you that there's two creation stories for real. There's one in Genesis 1 it talks about the Elohim. And whether you notice or not, Elohim is plural, beloved. It means divine rulers, divine judges, divine counselors. And then you see how Moses began to write in Genesis 2 about, you see the term Lord God, which just means Yahweh. See, God in the first Genesis 1, that term God just means Elohim. This is what this how the Jews, the Hebrews, that term is Elohim. And the way they kick it to you in English, they be like, well, this is a big G and this is a little G, and all that. They play big G, little G game on you. Even when you start talking Lord, they say this is big L, little L. But beloved, you know, Elohim is just Elohim. Ain't no big, it's just Elohim. It ain't no, they don't play the Hebrews and got the big G, little G game. It's just Elohim, which means divine rulers, divine counselors, divine judges, right? It's in the plural. It can be used singular, but it's in the plural. So you can almost see how Moses, knowing that, because he's writing all of this. We ain't got no writers from Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. This is Moses writing about all those that came before him. And it's like Moses knowing that that Jacob will one day belong to Yahweh. So he gives you the creation story, the general one first with Elohim. Then he comes back and he personalizes it with his God, saying, okay, this is, and he gives you see the term Lord God, which means, this is Genesis 2, Lord God, which means Yahweh. Now, you watch it and you see one has the term creation, and then Yahweh had the term made. And then one of the first things that you learn in consciousness is that it is a very big difference between something that was created and something that was made. Something that was created, you had to will it into existence. It came right out of the mind, because the mind is the all. It came right out of the mind, from the invisible to the visible form. That's created. Something that is made, right? Because Adam is a made man, we say here. Meaning, when something is made, it's a blueprint for that. I made a chair. I made a car. I didn't create a car. I made a car. I made a bed. I made a garage. I made a swimming pool. I made it. I had a blueprint for that. And you see how Yahweh, second chapter, he took from the elements, from the dust, and made a man. Man, let me go. We've been talking for a long time. Let me go. I ain't gonna get on my religion kick today. You know what I mean? I'm gonna leave it alone, because I'm gonna leave it alone. You know, we can talk really. You paying poor child. Go ask him. Well, you paying poor child a pretty penny. He taking 10% of the money. Right? He taking 10% of the money. Peace and black power to your family. You know what I mean? I appreciate you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Beloved, this is indeed Real Black Characters Forum Podcast. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Rand68, send me what you got, beloved. If I got some sisters and some brothers that is religious, send me what you got, beloved. You do not have to you don't got to agree with me here. I'm your brother. You don't have to agree with me here. Now, I don't know religious matters. I ain't gonna really. When we start talking family, we need to start agreeing more on family. You know what I mean? That we gonna have to. But religion, brother, you ain't gotta look. Nobody agrees. Don't let the Muslims make you think they don't all agree. They don't all agree. Just saying somebody believing that they in Islam, and that don't mean nothing. They don't agree. Don't let no Christians make you think they agree. No, the Baptists don't agree with my folks from that world. None of them agree. The Church of God in Christ don't agree with the Catholics. Catholics don't agree with the Presbyterians. They don't agree with the Apostolics. None of them agree. They just all underneath this heading of Christian, but they don't agree. And the Jews don't either. So if money is still being made and business is being done and the world is going around and they don't have to agree, beloved, we don't either. We don't either. And I'm going to leave it there. Peace, 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 beloved. It's the next time. Appreciate you guys. This is your brother V, and I'm going to get it with you guys later. Peace, peace, peace.
Thanks for listening. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Google, Anchor, Spotify, and Facebook. Also, don't forget to like, share, and comment on the podcast. Your opinion of what you just heard is important to the platform. So yes, beloved, your comments are the engine and fuel to the machine. Stay blessed and have a powerful day.